Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Little Shop of Nerds. I'm Julia.
Like,
So we would like to apologize that we did not have a video up last weekend. My boyfriend had ended up getting COVID, and Mike and I thought that it would be best for us not to record because we didn't want Mike to get it or anything like that. Luckily, I did not get it. So I was very fortunate that because it would have sucked because last week was my birthday, last Thursday, the 29th. So I was extremely lucky that I did not get COVID for my birthday.
yep.
So, you know, we apologize, but we're going to get right back into it.
Yep. And before we go on, I need to do.
And Mike's opening up an energy drink because it is fairly early right now.
Yeah, I had to get up at 6 a.m. for this shit.
Yeah, we normally don't record this early, but we wanted to get this out as soon as possible for y'all.
So think of this as it SMAR.
I don't think people want to listen to you sip on an energy drink.
People will listen to anything nowadays to relax.
That is true, considering what I listen to.
Because imagine they open a thing of Velcro, they're like, ugh.
Yeah, well, some people like that.
Hey.
I mean, if you all want us to do ASMR or popping bubble wrap, let us know because we'll definitely do it.
Yeah. All right, let's take a hit.
Okay, so 2 weeks ago, our hint was never let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game.
Yes, today we're going to talk about. Now, we've been doing a little bit of a movie series of the Cinderella movies. We did certain types. We did Ever After, the Cinderella movie, the cartoon of Disney. We did the Roger Hammerstein with Brandy as the star. Now we're doing the one with Hilary Duff.
Yeah, so this is called A Cinderella Story. This came out in 2004. So as I was watching this movie, it was playing music that I used to listen to, and I was filled with so much nostalgia. Now the thing with this movie is this movie did not get very good reviews. Like, it's very lowly rated on Rotten Tomatoes. But I enjoy it, and I think it's just because it's just nostalgia for me.
I love it because I watched it, I was like a tween or something. You can tell this was targeted to maybe the tween or teenage demographic. You don't know. I watched it. I loved it. When I saw it again, I was like, oh, I really loved it. Even I was doing a little like telling people they're a jackass because there was a couple of jackass characters, but still, I love the film. Besides that, I loved it. It had one of my favorite actresses, Hilary Duff. And yes, I watched Elizabeth McGuire. That's how I knew her from.
I mean, I watched Lizzie McGuire too, and I actually, to this day, I do have one of her songs on my phone. So, yeah, it's definitely nostalgia because I mean, back in the early 2000s, Hilary Duff was like one of the biggest Disney stars that we had, outside of like Shia LaBeouf and Christy Carlson Romano and
I heard Christy Romano's started Podco with her and her husband.
Yeah.
And I think Hilary Duff does some acting here and there. I think she did like a show with Sutton Foster.
She also just did How I Met Your Father.
Yeah, and
I have not watched it yet.
And
people don't seem to really like it very much, but I mean, I would give it a watch.
What?
I myself would give it a watch. Like, I would watch it myself, but
How I Met Your Father?
Yeah.
I never cared for How I Met Your Mother, so.
I mean, I didn't really either, but you know, I do like Hilary Duff, so I would like. She's one of the few Disney stars, or I shouldn't say Disney stars, but one of the few child stars that didn't go completely off the deep end. Because I mean, look at Shia LaBeouf.
He's just 100% nutty.
And then look at Lindsay Lohan.
Coke addiction.
And Amanda Bynes.
She wasn't Disney.
But she was still a child star.
Still, Nick Star, whatever. But yes, she's nuts and has a tattoo on her face.
Yeah, but I mean, that's, I think a lot of that's from Dan Schneider anyways, which we talked about in Quiet on Set. So if you guys are just joining us for the first time, go check out our Quiet on Set video.
Yes, and it's great. And also before, if you ever want us to do a Lizzie McGuire top 10 episodes, put it in the comments.
Yeah, because we will definitely do that. Okay, so let's hop into it. So, just like every other Cinderella story, it starts off with, what was her name in the movie? Sam?
Sam.
Okay, I couldn't remember. Okay, so Sam was, living with her father, and like every other, Cinderella story, her mother passed away, and he eventually remarries to a woman with 2 stepdaughters, like every other Cinderella story. And he ends up dying because what happened was he was reading a book to her. Like, he really loved her. Like, he owned, like, a diner. He had his own house. Like, probably had quite a bit of money. And he told Sam that she was a princess and that princesses went to Princeton. So, she kind of like had her heart set a little bit on going to Princeton, as a child growing up. And then a tragedy happened. There was an earthquake.
Yes.
And his new wife was yelling for him. And he went to her and he ended up dying. Somehow. I'm not quite sure. I don't think they ever said how he died.
No, they never did. And pretty much, you know what happened? Since there was no will, her stepmother, Fiona, played by Jennifer Coolidge, you might know her from the American Pie films as Stifler's mother.
She was also in Two Broke Girls.
Yes, and I see, and I'm like, did people really lust after her? Hey, yeah, she's pretty, but I wouldn't say she's a 10.
I mean, some people like that type of thing.
I get it, but like I said, I think she's like, what, an 8 or a 7?
I mean, there are probably people out there who like you, and you're definitely like a 5.
Ah, thanks. I bump up one. Anyways, back to it. Yes, there was no will. Fiona got the diner, got the house, everything. Sam. So pretty much, Sam had to do most of the chores. Became a servant, pretty much.
Yeah, they moved Sam up to the attic, and she ended up like doing her stepsister's homework in addition to her own. She did all the cleaning, cooking, working at the diner I don't think she was getting paid working at the diner.
I don't think so, but who knows. And what was it? She wakes up, Oops, excuse me.
Oh, Mike just burped.
At least I said excuse me. Like, one guy, if he didn't, he would bug the shit out of you. Anyways, besides that, right? She, after she narrates it, she wakes up. Her stepmother's calling her. Her stepsisters are swimming in the pool for some.
Yeah, they're doing like some sort of like synchronized swimming thing, and it's really fucking weird. Oh yeah, her stepmother was also on this thing called the salmon diet, where she ate nothing but salmon. Like, I tell you, I have to tell you, Fiona, like, even though she was supposed to be, like, the villain, she was, like, I found her so fucking hilarious.
I think that's one thing about Jennifer Coolidge. I think she's really good doing comedies. Even if it stinks, she'll just be there and just be like, just do what she can.
Yeah. So, anyways, so she, does everything that she needed to do for her stepmother. And then we find out that actually, we find that out later. So she goes to the diner, and there was this woman, I cannot remember her name for the life of me.
Rhonda,
yes. Rhonda was there from, like, when her dad was still alive.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
Yeah, she's been there, like you said.
A lot of the people that work at the diner have been there since since her dad was alive. And they were kind of like, definitely Rhonda, but they were all kind of like protecting her and making sure that she was doing what she needed to do, because they know that her dream is to go to Princeton, like her father
wanted her to.
I don't think he wanted her to. He just mentioned it.
I think it was just like what you mentioned, that it was like, no, why not?
Yeah, because I do believe, if I remember correctly, he did say that princesses go to Princeton. And she definitely just kind of like ran with it, especially after her father died. Because that was the last thing that she had. She just,
Right.
It's just something that her and her father had talked about before he passed. And so Rhonda definitely makes sure that she goes to school, she does what she needs to, and everything like that. So then she goes to school, and of course, then we learn about the popular kids.
And they're your typical early 2000 popular kids who are major dickheads. I think one had little spiky hair with the frost tips. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah. So we had there were 3 football players and 3 cheerleaders, and the head cheerleader, which I cannot I can't remember fucking names. But there was like the head cheerleader who was like in love with the head football player. So of course, with this being Cinderella set in the early 2000s, we had technology involved.
Yeah, and before you say this, what was your technology during the 2004 or something? I'm like, everything was small and bulky.
Yeah. So instead of because now we have smartphones in our hands, and Austin is the name of the guy.
Yeah. See, when you text on a flip phone, you had to press the same button 2 or 3 times. If you missed, you had to do a turnaround.
Yeah, so she has been texting this guy, and because they met in a Princeton chat room, and they had eventually found out sometime that they went to the same school, but they had never met. And it turns out that Austin is the one that she was talking to. And Austin genuinely really seemed to like her for who she was, despite, he didn't know who she was, because Sam wouldn't have been the one that he would have hung out with anyways.
Well, it's
him being a football player.
And she being part of the...
and her being like an orphan, basically.
Well, it was not orphan. It's more like...
She lost both of her parents, and she was being treated like a slave by her stepmom. She's definitely an orphan.
Yeah, an orphan, of course. No, I think they're mostly making fun of her because she's more like the dork squad, pretty much.
Yeah.
And she has a friend who's it looks like a fucking dork, too.
He does look like a dork.
His name is Carter, and
he is in love with
the head cheerleader.
I'm going to see... I think her name was...
Was it Barbara?
No, I'm going to... Okay, so Brianna and Gabriella were her sisters' names.
Okay.
So I think it might have been Shelby. Shelby Cummings.
Yep. Oh, and before we get further, they had a guy who's a super nerd and weirdo. You might know him from a little show called The Big Bang Theory. Played Howard Wolowitz, Simon Helberg. He just plays the weirdo.
Yeah, he's in love with Sam. But Sam's just like, ew. And like no one wants to seem to be with him. He only shows up like a few times, so he doesn't play like a very big role.
No, but it's like I'm like I rewatched this and I'm like, hey, it's Howard.
Yeah, I knew he was, and I think he was also in the Selena Gomez Cinderella story.
I don't know.
That we were, to be honest, we were also going to review that in this episode, but due to time restraints and trying to find it, we're not going to. So we're just going to talk about this one. Just
turns out there's many Cinderella stories.
Yeah, there's a lot. So
there's one for Christmas, and I'm like, no.
You might have to watch that one. So, anyways, Austin tells her, hey, can we meet at the dance? Because there was like a Halloween homecoming dance coming up. And he was like, I want to meet at the dance. Can you meet? And she was like, I don't know. And he's like, I'll be waiting for you in the middle of the dance floor under the spotlight. And she was like, okay. So she goes through the process of trying to ask her stepmother to go. Her stepmother won't let her go. And a bunch of shenanigans happen. Oh, we do find out that Austin's dad wanted him to go to another school. I can't remember the name of the school. But he wanted him to go to another school. And his dad actually owns a car wash business.
Actually, you can make pretty good money off that.
Yeah, definitely.
But Austin also wanted to be a writer.
Yeah, and his dad wanted him to just go to school and then come back and then take over his business. Which, that's not what Austin wanted.
No, and I'm like, dude, just let him go to his school. What the fuck's wrong with him? And yes, and other stuff happens, the school dance is getting ready around the corner, and Sam wants to go, trying to find Nomad, that's Austin's pen name.
Mm-hmm.
And in typical Cinderella fashion, Fiona says, hell nah.
Yeah, so she wasn't allowed to go. She had to work in the diner that night. Well, her, Rhonda, who's looking out for her, is like, well, you have to go. So then they go to a costume store that just, closed, but they do let her in. And in typical, 2000s fashion, they do a little montage of her trying on different costumes.
Yeah, Rhonda, Carter, they're trying to find other stuff. And Carter is dressed as, Zorro, and I'm like...
Yeah.
I get, maybe during that time it was okay, but if you see a white guy dressed as that, I'm like...
Not a whole lot of people really care about that.
I know, but someday someone will.
And anyway, so they don't find a costume, but Rhonda sees a mask, and she's like, can I see that mask? And they end up getting her the mask. Rhonda takes her back to her place, and she goes, I have the perfect dress for you. And it was the wedding dress that she was saving for herself, but she never got a chance to wear it because she never got married at the time.
And they go and pretty much shenanigans happens, and but before that, Austin was dating the head cheerleader. They broke up.
They had broken up at the diner.
And I'm glad he did, because she was a...
Yeah. And that's the thing, and also, Carter liked Shelby.
Yep.
And, so at the dance, Sam and Austin do end up meeting. They're spending some time together. They're dancing, talking. He cannot tell who she is with the mask.
And that's another thing. You know those little... It's like a little small masquerade mask, like...
That just go over the eyes.
Yeah, and I'm like... And Robin wears it, I'm like... How the hell can you not tell who it is? It's like Clark Kent putting on fucking glasses. They're like... Oh, that's not Superman. I'm like, it is Superman, you fucking idiots!
Okay, calm down. Calm down. It's too early for you to be screaming.
Sorry, a little caffeine high.
So, he does, he basically confesses his love to her. And while this is all going on inside, Shelby is... One of Austin's friends said that he wanted to get with Shelby now that she was single.
Oh.
And she was not having it. So Carter steps in to save her. And the thing is, Sam had to leave at midnight. So they leave. Finally, when they were about to kiss, Sam's phone went off, and she's like, I gotta go. She runs off. She grabs Carter, who is now making out with Shelby, and she drops her phone on the way out, and he picks it up. So instead of it being a shoe, it's a cell phone. It's her cell phone.
And then, they're all leaving. And here's the thing, Sam doesn't have her car, so she's driving with Carter. And before we get in the beginning of the film, Sam has to drive Carter because his dad does not want him driving any cars because he had a lot of wrecks.
Yeah, and his dad has a really nice Mercedes.
And this is a classic Mercedes. And stuff happens. They
they run into her stepmom and her stepsisters, and the stepsisters said that they saw Sam in Carter's car. But when Fiona looked over, she's not there, but she's like, she should be at the diner, and the sister's like, no, she's really there. And, so they tried to get to the diner before Carter so they could prove that she, wasn't there. Well, she got in, Sam got in literally just seconds before.
Yep.
And she just tried to play it off like she was behind, learning how to cook. So she was manning the grill.
Yeah, and this is what happens. The girls leave, Fiona leave, Carter's getting ready to leave. He stops, he was like, yes. Then you know what happens? The sign falls down and crushes the Mercedes. And I'm like, I like classic cars, and I'm like...
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like...
You can't see Mike's facial expression.
Sorry. I'll explain to it. I like classic cars, but when I would say, I'm like, yeah, if I was his dad, I would ground him, kill him, and put a boot in his ass.
Yeah. So, anyways, Austin's trying to find the girl that owns the phone.
Yep.
Because that is his, the girl that he loves.
But his friends try to help, and typical fashion, they're idiots. Those Southern Cali jocks, just like, oh yeah, man, acting like fucking Kyle's Chads, be like, line up a whole line full of girls trying to see if they're their Cinderella, and I'm like, I see this is funny, but when you're older, you're like, I feel a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. So, in case you didn't know, I forgot to mention this, but Austin Ames is played by Chad Michael Murray, who was, really popular back in the early 2000s. Heartthrob. I even had a crush on him back in the day. So he, one day, I think she fell asleep or something at her computer, and her sister comes in, one of her sisters comes in, and she's like, hey, something about, like, have you finished my paper? And she's like, I'm working on it. And she's like, well, can you make it sound a little bit more like what I would write? Because my teachers are getting suspicious.
Well, yeah.
And so she's like, yes. And then she had to leave for something. And then they started snooping on her computer. And they found out that she was talking to Austin. So then
they go to the car wash, and they, typical fashion, saying it's her phone. The other sister comes, no phone. Then he asks the question, and he's like, what was one of the emails say? And they couldn't answer it.
Yeah. And so then he knew that it wasn't them. So to get back at her, like to get back at Sam, they printed off all of her messages with Austin and gave it to Shelby.
And then they do the little, like, pep rally thing.
There was a pep rally. Everybody's there.
I hated those in high school. Like, when I was in public school, I hated those.
I didn't mind them so much because I was a man.
Well,
so I didn't have to sit with my classmates. I got to sit with the band.
Well, here's the thing. I was more into the drama club and everything. And they never did that much with the prep rallies, so...
I mean, I wasn't into sports either, but I enjoyed the pep rally because I got to see some of my friends.
Well, only thing why I like the pep rallies is because it got me out of class because I did not want to be in there.
No one wanted to be in class, I don't think.
Because, trust me, the last thing you want to hear at, close to midday and you're sleepy, you want to hear, what's all the faggery of theorem or why Einstein was a nut job?
Yeah. So, at the pep rally, Shelby starts reading off the emails, and then everybody finds out that Sam was the Cinderella. And Austin just kind of, like, looks back at her, like, disgustedly. Because now his dad knows that he doesn't want to go to the school that his dad wants him to go to. He wants to go to Princeton, and he wants to be a writer. And so basically they're just airing out, like, all of their dirty, like, not dirty laundry, but just, like, airing out all their secrets. And now, like, Sam's upset, obviously, because those were private messages between her and Austin.
Yeah, and I agree, there were.
And now Austin knows who she is, and because she was going to tell him, but she didn't really have a chance to.
No.
Before the emails were read.
Yes.
So then he felt like that she was lying to him.
Yeah, but also weeks, a couple months, whatever, right? Sam did get accepted to Princeton, but here's the thing. Fiona got to it first, told her, she didn't get in. And, even worse, and...
Yeah, Fiona wrote a fake rejection letter to keep Sam at home, to keep her as a servant, basically.
Yeah, and was it one day, Fiona was there taking money from the cash register, doing whatever she wants, Then this thing fell, the clock of Elvis clock fell. The little phrase that her father said, you can see through the wallpaper. And the stepsister say, hey, Sam did this. It's like, then, everyone at the diner quit. And even the customers left because, you know why?
No one liked Fiona.
No one liked her. And the reason is why people... this is one thing people don't know. If people love the staff, meaning they're not going to stay.
Yeah. So, like, a lot of those people were just coming back just because of the staff. And the reason why the staff was staying was because they were trying to protect Sam.
Yeah, and Fiona says, I'm done. And she moves out of Fiona's house. She's like, where are you going to live? She moved in with Rhonda, and it's not done there. And Rhonda tells her, hey, I know stuff looks bad, but, you can still fix it.
Yeah. So, Sam does go back to the house to get the rest of her stuff, and the book that she used to, or her father used to read to her, she found her father's will.
And pretty much, Sam owns the diner, pretty much everything.
She owned everything. And,
now, but this happens before the football game. And this is during the football game. Sam goes into the locker room, and she tells Austin, and Austin's, but she tells him, like, why I did not tell you is because we're from two different worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, you were not going to like me because I was the poor Dinah girl. You're just the rich dude with
the rich jock.
Yeah, and you know, the football game, he realized he does not want to be in the game. Gives the thing to his friend to, hey, it's your turn. Starts the rain and do the whole kissing scene in the rain.
Yeah.
All brought by the Notebook, Spider-Man, and everything else from the early 2000s.
Yeah. So, it was really funny because, like, you know, she found out that she owned everything. So, like, they changed everything back to the way that it was. All the people, you know, that used to work, you know, who had worked there came back to work there. Rhonda became, like, the manager of the restaurant, like an actual manager. And the sisters and the stepmother were basically working at the diner.
Pay off debts
and stuff like that. And Sam did find out that she did get into Princeton because the stepsisters were like, yeah, we know about it. And they were able to get in, they found it in the trash. So she didn't shred it or anything. She just threw it in the trash. The stepsisters found it, you know. And her and Austin ended up going to Princeton together.
And the dad was okay with it. Even does a 50% sale for Princeton.
Yeah.
Princeton goers and stuff. And I'm like, see, make a business. You just make a thing right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, for what it, oh yeah, so, Carter did try, or he did tell Shelby that he was Zorro. He was the one that kissed her.
And when she finds out, it was like, ew.
Yeah, and then she's like, look, that was a mistake and everything. And, you know, made Carter really sad, you know, because he really liked her. Well, towards the end of the movie, when they were graduating,
he gets a commercial role because he's a theater geek.
Yeah.
And she tries to
get with him, but he's like, nah.
Goes with the goth chick.
Yeah, a girl that actually likes him for him and not just because he was going to be in commercials now.
But truth be told, I'm like, yeah, dude, just go with the goth chick. I think you're going to have a better relationship with her anyway.
Goth girls are always better. I can attest to that because I'm kind of a goth myself a little bit.
Any single goth girls out there, hey, look me up.
Like, no.
Ah, fuck you.
Okay, well, anyways, so for what it's worth, like, in the early 2000s, and with it being, you know, a movie for, you know, tweens and teens, like, it's fairly good. I really enjoyed it. Let me look up the score on Rotten Tomatoes. It had the box office. It made 70 million, $70.1 million U.S. dollars. I don't know what the budget was, but that is. Let me see if I can't find the budget. So the budget was 19 million, and it made 70.1 million. So It was over the years, it has developed into a cult classic, which I can definitely see it as being a cult classic. Let me look up. Let me go to Rotten Tomatoes here and look it up real quick.
Rotten Tomatoes.
I really don't like using Rotten Tomatoes very much because
I don't like Rotten Tomatoes. They gave She-Hulk a good review. but the audience gave it a bad review.
Yeah. Okay, so Rotten Tomatoes, the critics gave it 11%, and the audience gave it a 53%. So not very good. Not very good scores. But I mean, for me, I think it was basically the nostalgia factor. Just because this is a movie that I really liked growing up. 2004, so I was 15 or 16, 17 years old. I think it came out in July, so I was 16 years old. Because I would have been 17. No, it would have been I was right.
Well, I was like 12 when this came out.
Yeah, I was. It came out in 2004, and I graduated in 2005. So, I might have actually been 17, getting ready to turn 18 when that came out.
Yeah, I was like maybe 12 to 13 right when it came out, and I think, already in middle school by then. Mm-hmm. I liked it, and I give the movie a 9 out of 10.
I don't think I'd go that high. I think I'd give it like an 8.5 out of 10.
Well, either way, it's got a good story. Yeah, some parts are a little corny, cheesy, but that's just rom-coms for you.
Yeah.
And you can tell this was made for teens, tweens, at the demographic.
Yeah.
It was never going to win adult audience over.
Yeah. So, but that is our review for A Cinderella Story. So, next week's hint is put up your swords, but they're actually guns.
Let that sink in, and we'll be back next week.
So you guys have a good day. Bye.
Bye.